Who here is from Austin? A lot of people. So I think everybody, you know, when we were living here during my generation, were really excited to have a television show in Austin, Texas. And it was really cool to drive around Austin and see the production and be really excited to see a TV show that was going to feature our city. You know, my first question is, you guys were down there just swapping stories. How long has it been since you guys have all seen each other?
A long time.
Since then, right?
Yeah. A couple of years. I mean, I think we've all seen each other on and off.
Yeah. Why did you choose Austin?
Well, I was living here at the time, so that helped. But also, I felt like, you know, the show's about the class of 2000 and where they end up 10 years later. And I wanted them to come back to where they were from, and it had to be a place that people would move back to after college. And, you know, the network tried to sell Wilmington to me, and I looked, and the big cultural event of the weekend was the Dave Matthews cover band, and I thought, I'm going back there after. So this, it just worked out that we could come here and do it. And it's such an unconventional show, you know, format-wise. This was a great place to come and make that.
How did you, like, what was it about telling this story? I know you found it was based on another show, but what was it about high school students and telling the story in a different way?
Well, should I talk in the...
Yeah.
Is that better? You know, the original, it was a Swedish half hour, which, you know, of course, is the root of all great television, and the minute that you have a time jump, you get nostalgic, and that's a really interesting thing to play on, is the idea of, you know, people in high school and 10 years later, this idea, some of them their lives have turned out the way they thought they would, and others really haven't, and you know, what kind of person are you turning out to be? And the documentary aspect of it was also really fun to play with. The fact that we could create a home movie of Kenneth's birth, or we could create, you know, still photos from their birthday parties, or, you know, any kind of visual evidence that we needed to assemble, and you really felt at the end of the day like you were watching these people's lives and not just a show about these people. So that was really exciting. Was it fun as actors to get to play kind of 10 years ago, present time, talking into a camera, not talking into a camera? It seems like there was a lot of fun things to play with.
It was amazing. Our very first, the screen test or camera test or makeup test was awesome, because that's when the first time that we were able to see each other in our 2000 looks.
Yeah.
Which, oh my, we were just done. Anne with her braces, her colorful braces, me with my mom jeans, here with...
Yeah, I think the first thing that we all like struggled with was like, we have to play ourselves 10 years young, and high school too, and we're all like, getting up there. So, you know, it was kind of, I think, you know, everyone's like, the guys are just like, just shaving like 5 times, you know? But I think what the root of it that we got to was that it's about playing the mentality of where these people were, and sort of getting the essence of the attitudes of high school and things like that. So I think once we kind of clicked into that, it, you know, it didn't become about like, are we gonna look young enough? It's just sort of, it became, you know, those things that people can relate to, like, oh, I remember like those click things in high school. Yeah, so it was fun to play around with that.
And it was a show where Noah and Warren gave us a huge amount of creative space and freedom. It was a collaborative effort, and for me the nicest moments was when we did a reshoot for the first episode. Daniella and I were in this studio in Burbank, and Noah gave us an iPhone to film the scene with, and we just passed this iPhone, telling each other how much we loved each other, and then we started working, and then but that made it into the show.
Yeah, it was really fun to be able to, you know, we got notes on the show. We were cutting that first episode together, and they wanted a couple of additional sequences, and part of it for me was, you know, I created I got these poster boards. Do you remember
Yes.
these poster boards?
The squirrel.
It was
Yeah,
so sweet.
and I had Julian. You know, he had a message for the love of his life, and he just sat there and you know, he flipped one poster board to another poster board, and you know, and there was this Disney lot squirrel just sitting on the edge of the.
And if like a red squirrel, it was
Yeah.
Disney
Right
squirrel.
Yeah.
outside your office.
Yeah.
We just,
Yeah.
it was like, come over to the office.
Yeah.
And we have an iPhone, and we'll do
Yeah.
the pickup scene.
And then you know, I just had Julian and Daniella out there, and we just did some improvising, and you know, that was a great thing because the motto of the show was, you know, imperfect is perfect, and this idea when you're making a documentary, you don't the camera can't anticipate anything because it's real life, so they don't know what's coming, right? So you know, so it was always, there was an episode where Julian and Daniella have a fight, and she storms out, and he goes after her, and the camera's running behind to catch up, and you know, the directors in TV are so trained to cover everything and get every angle, and it was like, no, what you get is what you get. That's all we need. But I think it was very hard for the directors. I think it was also very hard for the network to kind of wrap their brain around this kind of guerrilla filmmaking. It's like you're spending all this money, and they need everything to be really glossy, you know, ABC especially, and so, you know, we had our challenges there. But it was our job, and part of what was great about being here was it was our job to forget all that and to just really do the work, and that was great.
Do you think, and Warren, you can probably answer this too, do you think that now, because there's even more freedom than there was 4 years ago to kind of create your own thing and more avenues to put it on, that it would have worked better in 2014? Or is that a really hard, and both of you probably can answer that.
Cable.
Do you think it would have worked?
Yeah, you know, we were, I think, ahead of our time. While there was, Noah and I were both under a deal at ABC Studios, so when this concept came together, we were obligated to go in and pitch to them first. And we didn't get to pitch it anywhere else.
Yeah.
They loved it. To the credit of the executives, they passionately loved it. At the end of the day, we were on the ABC television network. They put us on the air Thursday at 8 o'clock, which is where drama goes to die on ABC.
Yeah.
And you know, as I sit back and think about what we created and what this cast did, we would have been wonderful as a cable show. There's so many outlets right now, and instead of hitting 10 million in audience, if we built a loyal couple of million people who lived and saw their lives unfolding in these lives, then I think we would have had something that today we would be celebrating our 4th season and talking about that.
How much did we not see? How much else was shot? I know there were 8 episodes in total.
Shitloads.
A lot.
Shit.
'Cause I
You know, it's so good, and I think it's on iTunes. Really, it's
I think
worth
you can
watching.
watch
It's
all of
really
it.
well, you
it's
can
quite
in
good.
Hulu also.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that because Netflix is, but Hulu also.
Yeah.
I watched
The other Netflix.
The other, you can watch
Yeah.
all 8 episodes, and immediately right after we were able to watch it, which I did.
We shot 8, and we were about to start 9. You know, we were canceled on a Friday, and on Monday we were going to start shooting 9. And 9 was actually, if we'd shot 9, it would have been a complete story, because at the end of 9, you know, Michael Stahl Davis' character was going to leave, and you know, I mean, it was a great sort of mid-season ender. But you know, the minute that they cancel you, they start rolling up the carpeting, and I don't know if you guys know this, but the night we were canceled in the mid-afternoon, and then we were supposed to be sound mixing episode 3 that night. So they called me and they told me, you know, all that music you have in the show, you got to replace that all. You got to listen to cuts of things now with like bad music in it, and yeah, it was really tough. So, but you know, there's no good way to cancel a show. But you know, it was, I think for all of us, and I don't know what experiences these guys have had since, but the level of creative freedom that we found. I mean, I convinced ABC Studios to spend $250,000 to bring this band Good Old War here, and we were going to have this like 4-episode arc, which, you know, sort of plays out where we were going to shoot all this stuff, and the studio said, so where's the script? And I said, oh, there's no script. I mean, they're not actors, so I figured we would just, you know, they were going to, you know, be in a recording studio, and people were going to come through and do a whole thing, and I don't know, I talked them into doing it, and then of course that was money that they ended up losing. But it was really fun for us to be able to have that level of play, to have a day where, you know, Michael Saul Davis' character would come in and I would say, okay, well, so we're going to do a scene now that we'll put in episode 7, and a scene we're going to put in episode 8, and the scene in episode 7, let's say it's, you're coming in and you're talking about this. We didn't have a script yet for that episode, you know, so it was really not the way you make network television, you know, it was more the way you make Louis, I think. So, but it was great.
You know, us in the normal world, we look at actors and we're like, oh, that's probably like the coolest job and it must be so great, but it's really probably an emotional roller coaster and really hard to invest so much time in a project. And what is it like when, you know, something you've worked on and loved and were really proud of probably just gets pulled? How do you, I feel like that must be one of the worst parts about being an actor.
I went out and got a tattoo.
Yeah.
Right on 6th Street.
Did you really? What is it
Julian went to
up?
Betty Ford.
So my generation
It's
forever.
an
I see you
incomplete
said
art for my generation.
Did
It
you
really
really?
meant a lot. Yes, I did.
Let me see it.
Where
Where is it?
Kelly and I.
Are you
Kelly.
serious?
Yeah, it's yellow, the show color. The show really did mean a lot to me. Yeah, it is, honestly. Well, I wanted it just to be for me. I mean, that's important. So that's what I did.
You know, it is the coolest job in the world, and yeah, when we finished, we had the most amazing, and we had the most fucking incredible experience doing this and bonding together, and that's rare for a cast and for a crew where everyone just gets along and you're in the time of your life, truly. And so when it ended, yeah, devastation, but we had the most amazing few months together, and I do think the show exists quite well as 8 episodes, as I said.
And it's, you know, I mean, TV has this historic, you know, 6 seasons in a movie, you know, or 10 seasons. You know, like if you didn't make it 10 seasons, you know, you didn't succeed. But, you know, I've spent my whole career doing 8 episodes of this or 10 episodes of this.
Yeah.
You know, I just finished a 10-hour movie. Like, you know, I would have happily made this show forever, but the fact that it was an 8-hour story I don't feel like it's a failure on that level. I mean, that's just the thing. You just, you know, you're trying to do something creative in a giant corporation, and they have their own agenda, and you can't really let it bother you when they make their corporate decisions that don't really have anything to do with your show. So,
I think part of it also just, even right now, with half of us being back, is kind of a testament to what the experience was like.
Now the other half are missing.
Well, that means they're assholes. No. I think what's really wonderful, I mean, Daniella and I she's one of my closest friends, and we met on the show, as well as Keir, and it's been really wonderful because from the moment that we all met each other, we had a blast.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys are aware of what happens on the other side, but you know, there's recasting. People get fired. People get changed around, and we never did, which was really nice. And I think we all bonded and really connected really well. And maybe it was just because it was also the honeymoon stage, so we all really loved each other, and it didn't get ugly. It was like summer camp, and
Yeah.
it was a really, really, really wonderful experience. And I think that was just from everything, from the crew to the cast, and I think it showed.
I think it was also
Yeah.
all of us a huge learning experience.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I learned a huge amount working with Noah, working with Warren.
That kind of leads into this question. I think everything happens for a reason, and you can take a little thing from everything you do and say like, oh, that prepared me for this. This prepared me for this.
Absolutely.
And does anybody have an
Absolutely.
example of how my generation and the two of you, right, Warren and Noah, that's kind of how you became working, and now you're working on Fargo. That you can say like, this was, you know, one of the things that set us forward on that journey.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you can't, at the end of the day, the biggest lesson is you just can't take it personally, you know? It's like people are gonna give you notes on the script or they're not gonna like it and you can't take it personally and they're gonna cancel your show and you can't, you know, it's like, you know, you have to succeed for your own reasons and you know, so that was a great lesson for me to go into this next thing and even to say, you know, on Fargo, you know, that obviously it's a much more successful show, but there's a clamoring of people going, well, you know, you need to do a second season and you need to, you know, continue with these characters. Everybody loves these characters, and for me, I just feel like, you know, I feel like creatively I've told the story that I needed to tell, and you know, you have to be prepared. You got to do the best thing for the creative and not the best thing for your bank account, I think.
You know, when they pull the plug, I would say it's like a death in the family for me. And your heart is ripped out of your chest and someone stomps on it. And there's nothing easy about that. And then I think what Noah said is absolutely right. You step back and you go, do we really like what we did? And we're really proud of what we did. We think it holds up just fine. And we look at the cast and everything they do. And it was a young cast. It was a young cast that came together in a wonderful way. And we have pride in everything you do from my generation forward. And so we love that Klieg light. We recover from having our heart ripped out. And ultimately, we just step back and go, we're proud of what we did. We're glad we put that out into the world. And together we were able to be fortunate enough to find another project and move on and be excited about that.
So Austin, Texas, what were some of the fun things you guys did as a cast?
So many things.
I'm telling you, I heard what was like, somebody was like, Club
East
Whole
Side
Foods.
Showroom.
East Side
What?
Showroom.
Yeah.
Love it.
What was somebody said downstairs, Club Whole Foods, and I'm like, what is that?
You can talk about
Julian's
I love Whole Foods. It's my favorite place in Austin. It really is. I'll go then. I'll just be filled with happiness. And I'll go from the fish counter where they make you fish to the barbecue place, and I'll just be smiling.
And then he'll leave
I'm
you
not
phone
kidding.
numbers. And then it was a one-stop shop.
Oh, so you would get girls and food.
But
He was there a lot.
Barton Springs, Hilton Pool.
Yeah.
Just the people who live here are great, friendly, and it was an easy place to come to and make friends.
Yeah.
Well, and the crew was really top
Yeah.
notch, and you know, when your first AD wrote a Richard Linklater movie, you know that you're in good hands with you know, the film community here. I mean, people are in the film community here because they're creative people and they love making movies, and not every place you go. Some places the film community exists because there's a tax incentive and that those are jobs, but here it was really, you know, it was such a brilliant experience to work here, and it's still my plan to work here again. And you know, Daniella was back here some for Revolution when that was here. And,
January.
yeah, and I don't know is anything going on right now?
Not that I was actually asking that about somebody today. No, I don't believe
Okay,
there
we'll
is.
fix that.
Is it? Does anybody have a question before I keep talking? Okay, good. You should go.
This isn't like a really deep question. Do you guys remember what high school you shot at?
Where were we? We were up in.
No, that.
There's the fictional.
Primrose High.
Was it
I know.
Anderson?
I know. It looked like my
Where
high
was
school.
it?
That's what I'm asking. It was McCallum.
Yes.
I was there 4 years ago as an extra.
Who else was anybody else an extra?
No, I went to high school. In that area.
Oh, really?
That was my real high school. Yeah.
Well, McCod
So this
is
is a big-
also
this is
one of our
big-
castmates. McCod is from Austin,
Yeah.
and I remember we had gone there to the school. I think it was the first time to shoot there, and I nearly lost an eye because there were like girls just chasing him and screaming, and I got pushed. And I guess he went to the rival school, which is Anderson or something. I just remember hearing those. Yeah,
And
but
his brother, by the way, works down the street.
Really?
At Sir Follies. If you remember Esther's, yeah, his brother is in the cast there.
Oh,
Nice.
no kidding. Huh.
Bring it back. Yes.
Did any of y'all prefer filming the 2000 scenes more than the 2010 scenes, or vice versa, or was it?
And like wearing the braces.
I love wearing the braces. I'm not gonna, and I didn't speak. I had
Yeah.
one. I didn't even notice it. I think I spoke as an 18-year-old, like 5 or 6 episodes down the road, and I
Right.
didn't realize that everyone was like, "You don't speak," and and then I started getting nervous, like, "Oh my God, what does my voice sound like? I don't know how this is." Yeah, and
We did one really fun episode where we did a split screen to open the episode, and it was Jamie King getting ready for school, and
then the glory of
and then you on the other side. You know, it was sort of like the queen of the high school and the sort of outside of the high school, and then it switched to present day. And she didn't know what her life was about, and you were the successful, you know, self-employed. You know, it was I thought it was a really fun
yeah, it was a lot
dynamic
of
to
fun.
see. And I don't know. I mean, what was your experience of the high school?
I love my scenes with Daniella, so I loved playing in high school. I really did. And going back to that sort of part of my life and remembering what it was like to be in high school, so I loved those scenes and having fun, for sure. But then the others, it was all good. It was a really, so in terms of what I learned from the show, it was more about, okay, this is now the bar. This is what I want to always get to in my work going forward. These are the people I want to work with. This is the quality I want to do. This is the freedom I want to feel like I have. So for me, my greatest lesson was knowing that something like this is possible, and this is something that I always want to aim for.
Did you want to, or, okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you go on about episode 9? Like what?
Oh, what would have happened?
Well, yeah.
I'm gonna have to bring my brain back there to try to remember what happened in the episodes leading up to it. You know,
Like they drag him out into the snow. It's
Yeah.
gonna stop. You're like, wrong.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like what Anders and Brenda have gotten together, and what, you know,
Yeah.
your character, you know, gotten together with
Yeah,
your
I have
father.
this memory that you know, we were gonna have, you know, Julian would be, you know, he would have moved out, and you know, and then the idea of, was he gonna try to make a go of it with Brenda, and you know, Michael was gonna decide that he just couldn't do this fatherhood thing, and he was gonna leave, and I don't know. It's interesting. It's been a long time since I've looked through the material, but you know, I like the idea. The plan was every season we would jump ahead a year, and that would give us the ability to film a lot of stuff that happened, and you know, because we had to build that documentary archive, right? So we would start the next season saying, okay, it's a year later, and here's Julian, and he's living, you know, he's in the bachelor apartment, and you know, and where's Kenneth now, and where are all these people, and you know, I thought it was a good plan. I know, we should have done that. That
I
would
want
be
to
good.
see Kenneth, like, get in there.
Yeah.
He was just starting to make his way.
I know. Well, you know, it's really powerful. I think that, you know, Kenneth's journey for me was, you know, I mean, you see him and he's living with the girl he loves, and she's married to this other guy, and when that episode where he came home, you know, it was a really powerful moment, you
heartbreaking.
know.
Yeah.
It's like that where
we were completely identifying with him and rooting for him to somehow find satisfaction and love in his life, and you know, that's what the show did. You put yourself in their shoes, and because we weren't doing melodrama, because we were just finding ourselves weaving our way into their lives as they figured out theirs, I think there's just a lot of identification, and it was really satisfying.
Is there another question? How much time? What?
Huh?
Oh, I didn't know if we needed to wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have time for another question if you want.
Okay, if there's one more. No? Yes?
Okay, I've got to ask, are you going to be in season 5 of Little Liars?
You know, I'm telling you honestly. So for
none
me,
of those girls are talking to him anymore.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But.
You give you a date with one of them, would be great.
So with Pretty Little Lies, I love doing the show. I love producers on it, Marlene, Oliver, Goldstein. I have a great time doing it. But I did it right after my generation, and so for me, in terms of the work that I wanted to be doing as an actor, it was more on the lines of my generation. As much fun I was having on Pretty Little Lies, it wasn't satisfying me as an actor. I can say that, right? And so what I then realized is that I was going back and doing it. And as much as I loved it, as much as it was doing for me and growing me as an actor, well, not growing me, but it sort of pushed me forward, I knew that I was relying on as a crutch. And if I didn't get rid of that crutch, I wouldn't do the sort of work that I wanted to do. And so I asked Marlene, I said, Marlene, I love doing this, but I can't do it anymore for a little bit. I've got to explore other things. And it was the best thing that I set up. Just an Amazon show I'm really proud of, a couple of films I'm proud of. But how I've left it with Marlene is that Ren will make an appearance. He's not gone from the show. He will be coming back at some point, probably near the end.
But as a woman.
As a woman.
I really appreciate you guys coming. I mean, seriously, it really was cool when you guys, as again an Austinite, we were so excited about the show here, and I truly enjoyed watching it, and I was very shocked and sad, and so I'm happy you were able to put the episodes you had done online, and it's kind of cool to see you guys back, and glad everybody has done other things, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.